We're back for another episode of The Final Word. Thank you for continuing to listen and support the podcast. I'm bad about doing like a legitimate intro on these. I usually just throw music on and just let it go. So I do need to do some housekeeping stuff here at the top. Gary, of course, is joining me. Gary, how you doing, bud?
Hi.
Hi. Always seems so excited when we do these. Just the energy is just a 12 every time. Um, Housekeeping, rate, review, subscribe, all that bullshit. The podcast is on YouTube now. If you're like into listening to podcasts on YouTube, no video or anything, it's still just
Mm.
audio. But if you're into that as a platform to listen to the podcast, it is on there. So go check that out and go subscribe. I think we're at very much the beginning stages of podcasting and YouTube. There's like actually it's not just like, oh, you're throwing up a video with no visuals on YouTube. YouTube actually has like a podcast section now, which is cool. So hopefully that'll continue to grow. I think it's also replacing Google Podcasts. So if you're listening on Google Podcasts, that is going away. So subscribe somewhere else. Also, follow us on the internet, on Instagram, and all that. I have no idea. Obsessed with Death Pod is the Instagram. Obsessed
hmm
with Death Podcast is the TikTok. I think a lot of people, more people are following us on TikTok than anywhere else. So go. We're about to hit 2,000 followers on Instagram. So go follow on Instagram and bump those numbers up so we look respectable.
How do you keep up with all those logins?
I mean, it's just all on my phone.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't you don't get locked out on your phone.
I feel like I'm constantly trying to fucking remember my shit.
If I lost my phone, it would there'd probably be a little bit of a struggle to get back into everything. I have if anyone's looking to steal my information, I have one password that I used with my AOL Instant Messenger and AOL
Oh,
email when they were still sending discs in the mail. The
wow.
password that I used to start that account, I still use today. So
Jesus. Just find
it
out
just
whatever dog he had then.
so just yeah, have fun with that. So do all the things and then tell a friend, spread the word, share it. You know, I post clips of every show on the internet. So feel free to share those clips with friends or just on your feed or whatever. It all helps. I'm not asking for much here. Just spread the word. Otherwise, that's all I got. Gary, what do you got for him? You want anybody to follow your Tumblr or Live Journal?
Not at all.
No?
I honestly don't even like when my mom listens to this shit. It brings me an incredible amount of anxiety.
Your mom does sometimes send me cool little thumbs up emojis when I post things. It is
Don't
nice.
don't talk to her.
I don't
That's
talk to her.
that's a married woman.
She gets the double tap heart like thank you and we
All
move
right.
on. There has been zero conversation. But now that you're like threatening me, I'm saying what's up to mom next time. Mom, if you're
Uh,
listening right now, hit me up.
the next time we do this podcast, you'll be my new dad.
All of a sudden just a third square pops up on the Zoom. Gary, we have
Oh
something we need to
my
tell you.
God. You're gonna be a brother. What?
Oh Lord. Shout out to the moms. Dude, my mom comments on every single thing I posted on the internet. So shout out to the moms. There is a thing called the mute button. It does wonders.
Oh well.
Yeah, it helps. You still see everything. You just my phone's not dinging a million times. I have had to tell my mom, pick one. Either message me on Instagram or text me. You can't do both because she was doing both for a while and it's intense.
Well, wait,
Anyway,
then let me take that second there and just tell my mom, give me a call. Just give me a call.
mom, call your child. Tell him
Give
you
me
love him.
give me a call. Tell me you love me, ma.
Shout out to the moms. If you're also a mom listening to this, shout out to you as well. We love the moms. All right, so let's get into it quickly here. Little health update for anybody that cares. We did an entire episode on my stay at the hospital. So go listen to that if you haven't. That'll really give you the details. As of the release of that episode, I was still using the PIC line, the IV that is in my arm. Now, buddy, as you could see, There is no more IV. That thing is gone. And why
Hallelujah.
and why is it gone? Because it moved inside my body and I was getting blood drawn and the nurse, my home care nurse came over on Sunday. We're recording this on Wednesday. She came over, looked at it and said, "That is not good. You need to go to the emergency room immediately," which is something scary to hear, but I have heard that so many times now that medical professionals telling me I need to immediately go to the emergency room still affects me, but not as much as it did in the beginning, which is kind of sad and terrifying.
Pretty good though. I mean, you know, you're calloused. You're a calloused man. The
I
the
mean,
medical professionals don't scare you anymore.
no, what the only thing that really worries me at this point is when they tell me that an IV that's very close to my heart is moving in a way that's it's not supposed to. That's a little scary. So I got to the emergency room on Sunday at around like 2 o'clock, and they had to take a chest X-ray to be able to see where it exactly moved to. And what was really interesting to me was ER doctors, not to shit on them, they got a lot going on, but they really knew nothing about my PIC line. Like they knew nothing. She didn't know if you could adjust it or if you just had to pull it out. She didn't know if it could stay in the if the place that it moved to was safe or not. She knew nothing, which is like, shouldn't you have a basic idea? This thing is in my veins. You're a doctor. How
Yeah.
could you like she couldn't even tell me like if it was dangerous based on the position that it was in from the x-ray. She goes to me, "Let me call someone."
Yeah. But isn't that what you like? So last time on the episode we did just on that, you
Yeah.
were talking about the fact that you were a bit like satiated by the fact that at least there was a very specific specialist that only knew how to do this.
Agreed. And that's who this ER doctor contacted, who then helped with the rest of it. I agree. I do like that there are experts specifically on this thing, but when you go to the emergency room, you don't you don't think it's like what, two steps above the ER doctor pulling out her phone and googling it. I'm like,
Yes,
well,
I bet she did that. She ducked into like a little medical closet and was like, "Let me check this shit out real quick. Let
I
me see if I
dude,
can find a YouTube."
I even saw her on the phone talking to them,
Oh,
and I was just sitting in a chair, like I didn't want to get in the hot in the ER bed. I was like, I'm getting out of here as quickly as possible. So I was just like sitting in the chair, and I just like pulled the curtain open, and I'm just like watching her talk on the phone, and
staring her dead in the eyes.
she just like casually like turns her chair like so I can't see what they're talking about. But it's clearly her just being like, "Tell me what to do," which is fine. Whatever. I'm glad the doctor wasn't this overconfident person who thought they could just fix it. But anyway, the ER doctor was told that it needed to be removed. I was placed into another room and then basically just sat there until the PIC experts showed up. And buddy, I can't even the length of this IV is insane. You don't I mean, I know it's you don't understand how the body works. Like you think from your arm to your heart is not that long,
I would
but
say
the
like 2.5 feet, maybe.
dude, crazy. Something like that. I mean, it picture what you think the length is from like your heart to like the inner upper arm, and it was probably 4 times as long as that.
Jesus.
Just absolutely mind-boggling how the body works and how things travel. And yeah, didn't even feel it get removed, which is also terrifying. It
That is
happened
real.
in less than a second. They basically say, take a breath in. And I actually Googled this. And apparently they make you take a breath in just so that you don't accidentally breathe into the hole. Because
Mm,
if you breathe into the hole, infection could occur. So they're like, just take a deep breath in. And then before I could even blow out, done. Already
wow.
was throwing it in the trash. Crazy, crazy. So, they gave me the whole spiel. They're like, you should just get a new one put in right now. And I said, no, thank you. I will not be doing that. Just
Classic.
the whole, I just like, I had it for 3 weeks. I only had 3 more weeks left. And I was already so nervous and was, not arguing, but going back and forth with the doctors about not wanting to get it in the first place because I was concerned about this thing and it just made me nervous. And then look at this 3 weeks later, there's an issue. So I will say the next day when I spoke to the infectious disease doctor, if they would have told me I had to get it, I probably would have caved and just gotten it. But we ended up finding an alternative, which I'll get to now. By the way, next day, go to see the infectious disease and tell them about my whole trip to the hospital and how they pulled the pick line. And he goes, oh, all right, so you got another one? And I go, I do not, sir. I told them no. And he kind of gave me that look like, okay,
Come
all
on, man.
right, okay. And then I explained the
We're just
situation.
doctors.
Yeah, I know. We just do this for a living with multiple people every day and every whatever. So I told him what the deal was, and he was actually very understanding, which I wasn't expecting. Even gave me a different option for a different IV that wasn't as intense, but I said no to that as well. And then we just went with an antibiotic, which I wanted from the beginning, but they wouldn't do. Basically, and I don't want to turn this into a whole podcast, so this is going to be quick, but the antibiotic only works, it's so strong. It's a 600 milligram antibiotic that I'm taking twice a day, and it
Jesus.
literally is inside my body to kill bacteria. So it's incredibly strong. There's literally a whole list of foods that you cannot eat while you're on it because if they interact, your fucking heart will explode.
What is it? Like, is it dairies? Is
It's
it
basically anything that's like been fermented,
okay.
like salamis and cheeses and wine and beer, anything
Oh,
that's been like in the fermentation process. There's a specific breakdown of proteins in the food that would react with this antibiotic and could raise your heart pressure, your blood pressure to the point blood pressure, a high topic on this podcast. It could raise your blood
ah.
pressure to the point where you have a heart attack. It's like,
So,
yeah.
what's your diet looking like? What are you eating?
Well, so I've been I first immediately texted my sister, who is a nurse, and started asking a million questions. I knew she was at the hospital working, so she could also ask like some of her other like doctor friends while she's at work.
You think
I'm
she's
just
doing that?
she
Excuse me, doctor.
well, no, she's got like a one doctor who's like it's like her work pal. So she'll
Okay.
ask him things for me. I don't know how much she's asking. She could be lying to me. But I started asking her about it, and she basically told me that like the only way it's really gonna affect you is if I basically ate like salami and cheese for like the entire
Just
time I'm on the
i-
medication.
if you could kill yourself right now with a charcuterie board, you could just end it all.
I could hang out with a couple of white women and just get murdered immediately by meats and cheeses.
Yeah.
But I would have to essentially really overeat and do it like the entire time I'm on the medications. But that doesn't stop me from being a complete psychopath and still stressing completely about my entire diet and what I'm eating. And so far in the past 2 days, all I've been comfortable with eating is eggs and some pasta because
Wow.
I'm scared to eat anything else.
Which I've heard are
Um,
also very good for your heart.
you know what, bud? If I'm gonna go out, I want to at least go out with a belly full of pasta, and
A little primavera.
that is what I will do. Um, what I did do, and this is gonna sort of go nicely into our first topic here, is are you a Chat GPT guy at all? How do you feel about artificial intelligence and using it as a way to better your life?
I know it's the future, and I'm not a skilled individual. I can barely read. I know that ChatGPT is like the future, and I don't fucking understand it at all. I have an app on my phone that sends me like daily alerts of what's happening in AI. I have another subscription service, not subscription, but it's free, but it sends me an email that tells me everything that's going on in AI. I don't fucking ever read it. I don't get it at all.
All right. Well, Chat GPT is basically just like talking to a really smart person, basically the smartest person you're ever going to talk to because it just knows everything. It's
Hmm.
got everything. It can't actually. I use the free version. There is a subscription that you could like pay for that I think gives you more, but I just use the free version and it can't like Google things for you. It can't like I think I forget what it is. I think it's updated up until like 2018 or something like that. But it's incredible, man.
Me too.
And so the reason I bring it up is because I've been using it as a way to create a diet for while I'm on this medication.
Oh
So
wow.
so I connected with ChatGPT and I basically just typed in, I'm on this medication, this many milligrams for this many weeks. These are the recommendations from my doctor, and this is what I found on the internet concerning certain types of foods. And it just made me a meal plan for the entire 2 weeks that I'm on
But
this
it
medication.
but it told you to eat eggs and pasta, so it's clear that AI is trying to kill you.
Well, it told me to eat eggs and pasta because those are two foods that are very, very low or almost completely non-existent to the protein that will interact with this medication. It doesn't exist in eggs and pasta. I mean, it gave me an entire list of foods.
Okay.
Basically, you just don't want stuff that has been sitting around you pretty much should just be eating fresh foods.
Fresh. Okay.
Fresh foods are pretty much safe. And again, that's why it wants you to stay away from fermented foods like these meats and cheeses and beers and wines and a few other things. But pretty incredible and then basically I'm so paranoid that like I'm online grocery shopping and
Mm.
I'm just highlighting all the ingredients on every food that I want to buy. And then I'll just punch it into Chat GPT and be like, here are the ingredients to an item I'm looking to purchase. Is there any ingredients in this food item that will interact negatively with my medication? And it reads every ingredient and then gives me a full breakdown of every ingredient in that food and what's dangerous and what isn't. And then it basically tells me this is safe to eat in, low quantities, medium quantities, or high quantities. And of course, it always finishes with you should always consult with your
Consult.
doctor.
Yeah. You're
But
you're
it's
you're
pretty
dating
incredible.
ChatGPT. You and ChatGPT are in a loving relationship right now, and
I
it's
mean,
keeping you alive.
dude, I use it every day of my life, mostly for work. It's incredible for the work that I do, but for stuff like this, I mean, I could only text my sister so many ridiculous questions before she stops responding. I could only send her so many photos of my blood pressure before she just tells me to stop. So if if we have this available, it's been incredibly helpful and somewhat, an outlet for me to reduce my stress on what I can and cannot eat. And again, I know it's like even the pharmacist was like, just don't eat like a fistful of ham every day and you're gonna be fine.
Easy enough to say for you, buddy,
I know, but
but
I go, look, man, I'm a big fan of the meats and cheeses. So that's where we're at. IVs just swimming around inside my body, getting pulled out. And now I'm on this new medication. Hopefully only for 2 weeks, maybe three, and then I should be done with everything forever, and I'll never talk about any of this bullshit ever again. But uh,
amen.
I do have to get blood work done every week still to make sure that like this medicine isn't just like wiping out all my white and red blood cells. And try not to think about that. But yeah, we're doing it. So the reason I brought up ChatGPT is because the first thing I want to talk about today is there is a artificial intelligent death calculator which predicts when you'll die, and it's considered extremely accurate with an expectancy accuracy and yeah of 78%.
Which is
78%. That's like a
that's
C plus.
if this thing can predict death at that rate, it's not far off from being 100% accurate.
Oh, we're so close. I would assume they're only telling us about the one that's like 70% accurate. There's definitely other ones being worked on that I'm sure are much more.
That's a
And
good
it's
point.
it's interesting too, because they're making these determinations based on some pretty interesting stuff like income,
Hmm.
profession,
Yeah.
health history, obviously,
Yeah.
man and being a woman, like all of that stuff
Hmm.
is taken into effect. But they basically, it's this university in Denmark who created this algorithm, and they were using details, I believe, of people that had already passed away. So that's really how they get to this 78% by basically going, all right, well, we inputted everything about this person, and then it told us when they were going to die, and then we went back and researched, and it was like they nailed it 78% of the time. They were able to tell them that this is the age that person died.
They were using something like you're talking about with ChatGPT by putting in, so not keywords, nothing like that, full sentences about like who the person was, where they worked, what level of management they were achieving, their income level. Um, I'm imagining that there was probably some medical history, but nothing that those people didn't, divulge to them. And then they input all that information into this, what some people call a doom calculator. Again, you're right. These people are already dead by 2020. And then this thing was describing back to them when they died and how they died.
I mean, we're so close, buddy. We are
It's
so
real,
close
it's right there.
to basically being able to be told when we're going to die,
Hmm.
if that's something you want. There are already some different types of blood tests and DNA tests that exist that you can do that does give like maybe a 10-year sort of window. Obviously you could learn a lot from a blood workup, and DNA and genetics play a really big part in life expectancy. It's unfortunate, but you meet people sometimes that they go, dad had a heart attack at 55, grandpa had a heart attack at 55. Like, it's
Right.
just sometimes it's scary how genetics just continue to just every generation, it just continues on that same path, especially when the heart is involved. But I think what we really got to get into right now is, would you want to know? Would you now do my first thought is, I don't know if I wanted to use the 78% correctness, right? Because then
Yeah.
it could be wrong. And then what's the point? I
That,
I'm talking when we get to the point where they're like, this is like
mhm.
99.9%
Yeah.
accurate. Do you want to know? Would you use it?
So at 78%, there's no chance I want to know that. And some stuff that I saw today, it was like, well, this could actually be positive because it could lead you down a better path. You could correct some behaviors, whatever. At
Yeah.
78%, I'm gonna die of a fucking like anxiety attack, stroke when I know if they tell me a date or they say it's 4 years from now, I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
So as it sits right now, no, I don't want to know.
You
But
wouldn't
to
even
your
want
point,
you wouldn't even want to know, like,
no,
you got 10 years left.
no, and
You don't
that's
have to, they're not going to say you're going to wake up on, March
Rob,
19th.
Rob, 10 years. If they tell me 10 years, I think I just won the lottery. I'm gonna
You
get.
don't think you
I'm
have
gonna.
10 years?
If they, I think I'd be afraid that they'd come back to me with like how like when you do your taxes and you have to figure out how much you owe. I think I'd get like a thing that said 18 months, and I'd be like, fuck.
Okay, okay, but let's say it gets to the point where it's the 99% accurate, and it's something,
Hmm.
it gets to the point where it's detecting diseases, and
Yes.
it tells you there's nothing you could do. No lifestyle change is going to help you in this situation,
Hmm.
and you're going to die in 9 years or whatever. Wouldn't you want to know that so that you could just not pay taxes and fucking cut everybody off on the freeway and just shove people out of your way, quit your job, and just, start cheating on
Yes.
your wife
Well, easy, easy on the last. Alexis, I love you. Never, never haven't. But I'm telling you right now, if it gets to that
with
point,
her permission, of course?
she would have, if I told her I had 10 years, she'd have to give me a pass. But
Is she around?
she'll
I
hear
would,
this.
I would love to know what she thinks about that.
I could bring her up here.
All right, we'll
Um,
see
uh,
if you're comfortable with it.
Alexis. Okay, would you come up here? Yeah, we can ask her. If we have 100% accuracy, I
Yeah.
think that completely changes how I would behave. So yes. And again, you're bringing up all these things that are like very interesting about like how does it decide how much you drive or what like transportation you take to work, like what are the all the factors that could be combined into a 100% accurate system because it's a lot.
So it doesn't, health wise, I'm saying 100%. Of course, it's not going to say you shouldn't get on that flight. It's
Right.
going down. Of course, it could say you have 25 years left, and then you walk out front and you get hit by a bus, and it's over. There's always those different scenarios, but I'm just saying like you said, it could be an incredible tool for motivating people to get healthy, to have
Hmm.
lifestyle changes. If you're
Hmm.
looking at a almost 100% accurate death calculator, and it's telling you if you don't make these changes in this amount of time, you have got 6 years left. I think you're either going to go one of two ways. You're either just going to go, I'm just going to have the best 6 years of my life, or I'm going to really make some changes and then come back in a year and see what it tells me then. I think both are fine. I
Yes,
support I support both ways of living. But yeah, there are a lot of variables to all of this.
I have Alexis here. All
Okay.
right, I'll pose the question to her and then hand the mic over. All right.
Okay.
If I took this test, right? This university from Denmark reached out to me and I was able to take this test and they told me that I had 6 years to live. That's that's on the high end, probably. If they told me 6 years, would you allow me to pursue Rachel McAdams in a romantic way in the last year of my life?
I think that like even if there was a lookalike and you were like, I have to know, I wouldn't be like, live your best life.
Okay, who else could I get in there?
If you had only like 6 years, I feel like you could probably do some damage.
You would let me do some
I
damage
think so. I think I would be like scared for the rest of your 6 years.
and you would still love me though?
Yeah.
But you would let me go out and bang somebody with a blonde hair and an upturned nose?
Yeah.
All
So
right,
you just
she's on record.
You need to marry this girl
I
tomorrow.
want to marry her right now, bro.
I mean, okay, look, I'm not saying that you need to be going out every night and that we got to set up some sort of rotating testing schedule so that you're not giving anybody any sort of STDs. But
What do I
I
care?
think well, you don't want to give them to your wife, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But you got the all clear, buddy. I think it, first of all,
Send me
isn't
this
that
audio
motivation?
immediately.
Isn't that motivation to take the
To
test?
take the test? Yeah, I'm on it. By the way, I've changed my mind. I'm in.
You're in. See, I look. Oh, I can spin anything, and I think the ability to openly cheat on your wife. I guess it wouldn't be called cheating. You would basically be allowed to live in an open relationship based off of the way you've destroyed your body in the past 20 years. That's pretty good.
You have no idea what this is going to be like tomorrow for me or the next 3 fucking weeks. She said yes tonight, but I'm going to regret that.
Well, please keep us updated. If you could maybe possibly secretly record her telling you that none of that was true,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear that.
She's going to be in a robe with a fucking towel on her head being like, "What's wrong with you, dude? Why would you even ask me that?"
By the way, she can also enjoy this, this new life
You know
because
something?
you're out the door soon. It's time for her
You
to start meeting new people.
You know something I just saw actually, and I don't know who it was. I should have sent it to you, but there was this guy. I'm assuming he was an expert. It looked like it on Instagram, and he said that when men lose their wives, they're clinically depressed afterwards. But when women lose their husbands, they have the best existence ever afterwards.
It's a video that was posted on the Obsessed with Death
Oh,
Instagram
okay, that's
account.
right.
Yep.
Got it. Okay, there we go.
That's where you saw that. I
Uh,
shared it about 2 days ago. And yeah, I did think that was really interesting. Basically, to repeat what you just said, women have more relationships outside of their marriage.
Right.
So when their husband dies, they have more people to reach out to, they have people to comfort them, and all of those other relationships sort of make it easier. Men 60 and over usually consider their wife their best friend at that point, don't have a lot of relationships. So when their wife dies, they're kind of stuck at home by themselves, which is sad and unfortunate. So,
True.
men approaching 60 with an ill wife might be time to make some friends because
Alexis,
there's
you're
a
my
lot of
best
value
friend.
in
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm sorry I said any of that shit. I'm sorry I even asked that question. Alexis, you're my best friend. I'm sorry about that.
Buddy, she's going to be living a great life when you die.
She will fucking love it, dude.
Statistically,
Yes.
she is going to be just fine. And if she somehow dies before you, it's somehow going to get worse than what's already going on.
I don't know how it could, but I know it will. I'll melt down.
Oh boy. Yeah, but that is interesting and, not that surprising to me, honestly, cuz I think it's not groundbreaking for me to say that men, especially men that are going to be in their 60s currently and nowadays, weren't really allowed to be vulnerable or, build nurturing relationships with other men. That just didn't really happen. I feel like our generation sort of
We broke
got
it.
the groundwork going.
Yeah.
And I definitely know a lot of men my age that are not comfortable when I tell them I love them or I want to give them a hug or whatever it is. But I am lucky in the sense that I have a group of friends that I think I've seen it just from these past couple of months where I've been struggling with all this stuff going on. I've had a lot of really good people, including you, Gary, reach out to me and really make sure I'm doing okay. So that's important and it's unfortunate. And you got to feel bad for people like that. But all I'm really getting from this is you got a great wife. At least on the podcast, she's willing to admit that she'd let you open things up a little bit. And
I mean, I've got her on record now, so
I personally would do this in a second. I would want to know it's this the reason we're doing this podcast right now. The reason I started all of this is because the anxiety comes from not knowing, having no control. As soon as I know when I'm going to die, I get all the control back. I think that there's so much value in that. Of course, it's terrifying, especially depending on the time frame that you get. If I got a year amount, I think I'd be comfortable with with a month. Like if they were like, 2039 on July 2nd, I
okay.
think I'd be okay with that.
I agree with what you're saying, but it goes back to like when we were talking about the asteroid thing. Like, how much time do you need? But like you're more comfortable knowing as opposed to wondering all the time because the fucking podcast is called Obsessed with Death. So you're in an obsession, constantly curious about how much time you have, what you can do, when you will die, how you'll die. If they
Yeah.
could tell you, it would bring you, it's a blanket for you.
Absolutely. And I also would be grateful for the advanced notice to be able to make some changes. I think I would also be that person. I don't think I would be the quit your job and, push your wife out of down the stairs and start a new life and whatever. I
Just
think
booze or eat or
I think I would it would be I think I would find it motivational in certain ways, but I think I would also take it as a way to enjoy life more and not worry so much. And basically what I'm getting at is I can't wait for them to master this goddamn death calculator
it's
so that
getting
I
there.
could use it. And that might be the end of the podcast. I think I'm cured at that point.
Once you found that date, you're done. You would just announce the date and then you would just put up like
The
just a
episode
ticker,
the title for that episode would be the date that they told me I'm going to die,
death
and then
countdown.
and then it would be the goodbye episode. That would be it. I would be booking a plane ticket to go enjoy my life, and I
Yeah,
think
because
it would really help.
why would we do this shit anymore if we knew? You know what I
I
mean?
wouldn't do I wouldn't do if I was told I got 5 years left, I wouldn't be doing half of the shit I'm doing.
Exactly. I
I
agree with
and
that.
so yeah, I don't know. I will say I have spoken to people that have been given some pretty grim diagnosis before, with brain cancer and terminal illnesses and all of that, and some of them have talked about the idea of the consistency of life being almost a comfort as well.
Yeah.
That this idea of just continuing with your life because any of us could die at any moment. So why don't we all just quit our jobs and fuck off and do whatever? That's because your brain doesn't really let you do that. You really got to put yourself in that position. So the idea that you're given this terminal illness and sort of a grand, not grand, but an idea of when you could die. A doctor says you got 6 months. Some people want to just keep living the life they're living.
But isn't it funny that we're talking about this shit right now as if like it's possible and like we're on the cusp of this and like we're saying, well, if I knew that I was going to die at a certain date, then I would just do all of these things. But we all know we're going to die. So
Yeah.
why not why is it
But
so impossible for us to live our life like that as if we knew? Cuz we do know, we just don't know a date, but we do know.
For sure, because life can also be extremely long. Some people live till they're 90.
Yeah.
And if you quit your job, you're not laying out on the beach and jumping out of planes and when you're
No,
80 years old,
you're in a
you when
box
when
on
you're
the side of the road.
when you're 80 years old, 70 years old, you're going to slow down. You're going to want these comforts in life that you really need to unfortunately work for. They're not just given to us. It's the preparing for your life. It may not happen to us, but a lot of people live to 75, 80 years old.
What
So
if
I think
AI?
that's a part of it.
What if AI is just God, and because it's constantly reminding us that we're gonna fucking die or that it's gonna kill us, and all of these things that are happening, it's just reminding us that we should be living our fucking real lives instead of doing all this bullshit.
I think that yeah, I mean those reminders I think are out there in all different forms. But yeah, I mean, look, I could do a whole podcast on the fact that it's insane that any of us have to work and that we have to pay to live and
Yeah,
that
dude,
every single one of us should be in a hammock right now enjoying a smoothie.
yes, I'm having to fucking constantly touch the touchpad on my work computer right now so they think I'm working while I'm doing this. How fucking ridiculous is my life?
Absolutely insane. But that's a whole nother subject. The last thing I wanted to get to with this death calculator is the idea of being able to find out when other people are going to die.
Ooh,
Now, two
if you could.
different scenarios here. Your grandpa, your grandma that you love, who thinks AI is the devil, Google's,
Mhm.
black magic, and doesn't want anything to do with it. Fine. I'm going to punch in grandpa's info. And now I know how much time I have left with grandma or grandpa or mom or dad. There's a lot of value in that. Do you agree?
I agree. Would you tell them, or you would keep it to yourself?
Well, see, that's the thing. That's where I was going to go the other way, where you find out certain people in your life, you find out when they're going to die, and then you just sort of hang it over their head every day. And, they're like, they're like, well, I got a flight on Thursday. And you go, oof,
Ooh.
Thursday, huh?
So what I
Morning or
read was
morning or is it red eye? What time's that flight?
because I got intel here.
Or you go, you're having dinner with a buddy, and he goes, oh, I got a little indigestion. They start, rubbing their chest, and you go, what day is today? What's the date?
Wait, hold on a second. I rub my chest all the time. What the hell does that mean? All the time.
It means you're gonna die. I think
What the fuck, man?
you've never heard of indigestion before.
I know it, but I thought that was just like heartburn.
I mean, heartburn isn't. It's called heartburn. You think that means that you're healthy?
It's not a good word now that you talk about it. That's a fucking
I'm
terrifying
sorry.
phrase for
Did
something
you
that's
think?
normal.
Did you think it was a good sign when the middle of your chest starts to burn?
I just thought it was heartburn, man.
It is heartburn, and it's because your insides are on fire from whatever you just ate. You know
I
those
gotta go.
scenes where Tony Soprano just starts spinning and then falls over while he's cooking sausages in the backyard?
I thought that was anxiety. What are you
It
fucking doing
it
to me?
it is that was anxiety, but what I'm getting at is that those two symptoms can be confused sometimes. Sometimes it is anxiety. Sometimes your heart's about to explode.
All
I'm just
right.
watching Gary furiously Google right now.
Oh,
I
I
can't
have
be the first. You're almost 40 years old. You don't know what
listen,
heartburn is?
listen to me. This podcast has not been good for my health.
I really feel like you got one more episode in you.
Dude, if you're the death
I'm
calculator
gonna
right now,
I'm gonna be doing this podcast. The final, I will say this: the final word will never go away. I will do it on my own. I think Gary's got 3 more episodes left in him.
and if that comes true, I hope this
Not
pops
that you're
off.
gonna die, that you're gonna quit the show because I'm giving you so much anxiety.
Oh, see, I just thought you were talking about me dying there. Whew.
No,
Oh
no,
man.
you're Gary. You're gonna live a very long life.
No, no, I won't.
Your wife isn't gonna have a second marriage.
Oh, she's
No
gonna have
way.
so much fun on that second one. I got like a big ass fucking life insurance policy
You're,
that I've had since I was 24 years old because I thought about dying forever, but
what are
um
you googling right now?
I don't want to talk about it. I had no idea that rubbing my chest meant that I could potentially
Well,
die. I thought it was heartburn,
when you're rubbing your chest, what are you rubbing it for? What is happening to you?
burning.
Yeah, okay. So look, I mean, heartburn doesn't mean that you're about to die or anything, but I think it probably
You
means
just said that.
you might have, some acid reflux going. It's not good. My point is,
Go ahead.
it would be fun to know when like your friends are going to die and they don't know, and then you could just sort of tease them forever. I do find some humor in that.
I have a feeling that's what's happening right now. Have you tapped into this thing?
I may have put a couple of things in the death calculator.
First and last name. I'll give you my date of birth. You figure it out for me. At 78%, I don't want to know. At 99%, I'm fucking all in. I did see
Okay.
this that I thought was kind of interesting about this whole thing.
Yeah.
So the people that still do exist that they put into this, because they did take patients, all
Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
and they did measure these patients again, all those things. How do you work? What do you work? Are you a manager? What's your income? They they decided to not tell the existing patients of this study what they found out. And the lead doctor, scientist, whatever this is, on this said that they did that because they found it would be very irresponsible to describe to these people what they actually found out. So there are people out there who have participated in this study whose information they have, whose prediction they have, and they are not telling those people what they have found out.
See, that's terrifying. I don't like that at all. And I'm curious in did they sign something to approve that? Can they approach them and go, I'm requesting
I'm
every piece of
demanding this.
information? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They must have signed something that gave them some sort of ill privilege.
I would
Um,
assume, yeah, I would assume there's probably some sort of release form they signed that lets them keep whatever they want and maybe
right,
share whatever they want.
right,
Also to cover themselves, because look, just because they have this information and they assume it means something doesn't mean
right.
it's correct. And then what? You tell all these people, well, the old death calculator said you got 6 months left, and then they live for 9 years, and they're just like constantly worried all the time.
Yeah, or throw themselves off a building.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that there's probably some sense to keeping that information to themselves and only sharing it if the person agrees. And then also, like, probably signs a waiver, like, I promise to not drive straight to the Golden Gate Bridge after you tell me
Right. They
this
did mention
information.
this. They did mention this too. Speaking of the United States,
Yeah.
they suggested that because they took this information in Denmark and all of these people are, Danish or whatever. Is that Danish, Denmark? I don't know. They said that these results could vary wildly from society to society. And one specific thing in the article I read was that they said that these results can't even possibly be assigned to the United States populace at this
Oh,
time.
yeah, because we're all going to die way before most other people. And
Yeah,
anyone that's
especially
living,
Denmark.
yeah, people in Denmark are absolutely outliving Americans
Mhm.
for sure. If you're living in like a stable environment, you're most likely going to outlive Americans. Let's be real.
If
I
you have
think,
health care,
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a million different things, but it's like I don't know, just go to the mall and look at everybody. It's not great. So, shout out to the death calculator. Big fan. Can't wait to see that number jump from 78 to. I'd even look. I'd even take 90%. You give me 90%, I'll take it. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. I think depending or not, if Gary quits the podcast, we'll maybe one day be able to do a legitimate death calculator on the podcast. That
can
could
you
be fun.
imagine? That would be
I would.
great.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Just a real fun day. Let's find out when we're gonna die. All right, so this is what I really want to get into. Alaska Airlines. This door panel blows off 16,000 feet in the air. The
That's pretty high.
door blows. It's not even like the door like flung open. It just was at a pressure to where this thing just blows off the plane. I would like to start this conversation off by saying that I am legitimately terrified of flying. I do not enjoy it at all. And this just makes me even more terrified to ever get on a plane, even though the counter argument immediately is, well, no one died. So wouldn't that make you feel safer? So I want to start off there. First of all, how do you feel about a door literally blowing off of a plane 16,000 feet in the air? And does it make you more comfortable flying or less?
So door flew off at 16,000 feet.
Yes. Shout out
Cruise
Alaskan Airlines.
Shout out. Yeah. They deserve all the kudos here. Cruising altitude for a plane, 33 to 42,000 feet. So
Mm.
you're not at that place because when I heard that the door flew off, I was like, how does this not suck everybody? I've seen all the movies. How does
That
this not
apparently
suck
that
everybody up?
one of the seats in the airplane did also get sucked out. Luckily, there was
Luck,
nobody on it.
and
Nobody was in that seat.
that person just missed their flight or something.
Yep. Yeah. I'm pretty sure this is true. I believe there was a video circulating where the person gave the credentials, like the ticket and everything, in like a TikTok video that yes, they legitimately missed their flight and were supposed to be sitting in that seat. There was a little boy and his mother sitting right next to that seat. The kid's shirt got sucked off,
Jesus.
and the mom was literally holding on to her son so that he didn't get sucked out of the plane. But yeah, the one chair that did get sucked out after the door panel blew off was supposed to have somebody sitting in it. But again, does this make you feel no? Just and if
I
that
know.
guy was in a seat, somebody dies.
I feel different.
There's no argument. It makes you. It's got to make you more terrified to fly.
Of course. Of
But
course.
they were lucky in this sense. I believe it's called the burnt toast theory. Have you heard of this?
No.
We'll get into that. But how are you feeling? Does it make you are you more
It,
concerned or less?
yes, I'm more concerned. And I'm more
Yeah.
concerned because all the shit that I've read about this and like Boeing not having that max plane up to date, what is it? The
Yeah.
795 max or something?
737.
737 max. The fact that they're having to recall it and that these planes are still in the air,
Oh yeah.
yeah, all of that has to make you feel more concerned about flying.
Just even off of what you just said there with Boeing, what does Boeing have in their back pocket that is allowing them to just continue to operate like this?
Oh, can I tell you?
Yeah,
Government contracts. That's
fair enough.
why.
Yeah. No, you're right. But I mean, Boeing is like the mafia boss of the sky at this point.
They perfectly put.
It's like
100% what they are.
how any company that doesn't have the connections and the contracts
Right.
and the pull that Boeing does is shut down immediately.
Immediately grounded.
Boeing has the balls, by the way, to also ask U.S. federal regulators to
Mm-hmm.
exempt a new model of its 737 MAX airline from a
Mm-hmm.
safety standard designed to prevent part of the engine from overheating and breaking off during flights. They're not
Right.
saying, can you give us a little time to fix it? They're saying, can we just be exempt from having to fix this?
And I think that exemption that they're asking for is until 2026. And I read this today
Yeah.
that a part of the reason they're asking for that exemption is because they have a mass order for an Air Max. I don't know. I'm thinking of like shoes now. There's a smaller Air Max, and in
Sure.
order for them to fulfill that order, this exemption has to exist. In
Yeah.
other words, if they don't get the exemption, all these all this money that's supposed to come in this fiscal year will not hit their books because they won't be allowed to sell those planes. They won't be allowed to deliver those planes to all of these airlines.
Does Boeing even need to like operate in dollars anymore? Like,
Probably not.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what amount of money would they have to lose for Boeing to go out of business?
I
Boeing's
agree.
never going out of business.
No,
They'll
they're
get
making
bailed
bombs.
out
Yes.
if anything.
Or they'll just start another war and Boeing will fucking be a part of that. They
Yeah.
don't need this.
I mean, World War III is kind of already happening. That's a whole nother podcast. But dude, Boeing told pilots to limit the use of an anti-icing system in some conditions to avoid damage that could, quote, result in loss of control of the airplane. I just
Come on.
the balls that they have to even release this stuff
I
is
know.
so crazy that they're publicly requesting, they're not getting on the news and really discussing it, but
Right.
they're allowing the public to know that they're requesting these, regulations and these exemptions from, the federal regulators. They do it because they know they could get away with it.
I'm hot about it because they're putting this shit on the pilots now to basically not nosedive these planes. They're saying as long as our pilots know this new protocol to not de-ice at the right time or the wrong time, then everyone will be safe. By the way,
And the training of the pilots, they're skimping.
exactly.
These guys are making billions, maybe trillions of dollars, and they don't want to pay to train. I understand there's a lot of pilots, but hey, if you want all of these planes to be in the air and to be sold, and for you to make, whatever amount of money you're trying to make, maybe spend a little so that these pilots know what they're doing. Because if we go back to 2018, 2019, there were those two 737 MAX planes that crashed, and like I think collectively almost 400 people died.
Mhm.
And Boeing was charged with fraud and conspiracy, paid over $2.5 billion, and now just continues to do whatever the fuck they want. The fact that they were charged with fraud and conspiracy, how does no one go to jail? How does a company like that, that's run by human beings, get charged and taken to court and proven guilty for fraud and conspiracy, and their punishment is, you gotta pay us $2.5 billion?
Their C
Did anyone go to jail?
their
No
CEO
chance.
last year, their CEO actually in February was awarded $5.3 million in bonus.
So there you go. These guys are killing hundreds of people. Now look, there aren't planes crashing to the ground every day, and statistically, it's safer to be in a plane than it is to even drive to the airport. But
Yeah,
there
that's what they
are
say.
there are people that were incredibly affected by this. Whether they were on the planes, they just throw money at them. So all the
Yeah,
families get a paycheck, but that's not bringing your family back. That's not dealing with all of the trauma of losing, a loved one from a plane crash, which I don't know how you even continue, or how you even begin to heal from that. But again, these guys are basing the safety on pilots remembering when to limit the use of certain things on a plane. I
yeah.
will say I did see a video, and maybe I'll try and find it and I'll share it on, the Obsessed with Death social media accounts. But somebody did make a video explaining how you can find out what type of plane you're getting on before every flight. That
That's
information is
fantastic.
is available.
All of a sudden, it's very pertinent too. You need to look that shit up.
Buddy, you think I'm not checking what type of plane I'm getting on the next time I'm on a flight? 100% I am checking. I believe that you could actually see before you book your flight, you could see what plane you would be flying on that flight. So essentially, you could book your flight based on the type of plane that you want to fly on. And I think
Hmm.
more people should be doing that. Of course, we're sort of in the situation where, like you said, people have to fly. People need to fly every day. It's this gigantic business that we can't really do anything about. I can't imagine anyone is plotting some sort of, boycott of flying.
Right.
But you know what? I don't think it would be a bad idea. I think I think we get enough people to just not fly for a week, you might be able to change some things.
I agree with you. I think that's perfect world. I think what
Yeah,
would actually happen is that they would ground these Boeings and then flights would be very hard to get. And the people that need to get them would be willing to pay pretty much whatever it took to get them. And then that would raise the cost for everybody. Anybody who had to fly
sure.
casually, anybody who just, had a trip booked, and all of a sudden your, $600, $500 round trip is $1,600.
What we need is for one of these air Delta. What we need for Spirit to make a
I
commercial, and Spirit goes,
Yeah.
"Hey guys, guess which airline doesn't fly 737 Max
We
airlines
got these
ever?
1987 714s.
We got the stuff that never crashes, okay?
Yeah.
So make your airline the airline that doesn't fly 737 Max, and you're getting all my business. You're
Spirit just
selling
show Spirit just all right, go ahead.
no
I'm
no
sorry.
no no. I'm just you're selling every flight forever.
Yeah. This is the Spirit commercial. It's like, how many times have you seen a 1986 Honda Civic on the road still? That's us.
The
Okay.
Honda of the air.
Honda Civic of the air.
Yes. Absolutely.
Spirit Airline.
We got the stuff that's been running tough. Look, you might look out your window. There might be a little duct tape on one of our wings.
Right. It's not
You know
pretty.
what? You know what's not going to happen? That door ain't going to fly off.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
We're not
what.
gonna
That anti-icing stuff doesn't even exist on these planes.
we don't even
These
have that.
planes were built before anti-icing. Okay, you guys are good.
We were amazed that that could even felt the plane. We had no idea. What
There,
we won't
we
do
thought
is
we thought we flew above the ice. I thought that didn't exist.
wait, there's ice at 33,000 feet?
Once we get above those clouds, there's no more ice. You don't have to worry
There's no
about that
ice up there.
anti-icing stuff. We got the planes that are going to get you to. And again, look, I know no one, this is so rare, but do yourself a favor. You want to really freak yourself out sometime, go ahead and hop on Netflix and watch the Boeing documentary on Netflix. That'll make you want to walk everywhere.
Hop on YouTube and listen to the last recordings of so
Oh,
many of these planes that have just nosedive and dunked into the fucking drink
but,
in the
but
Pacific.
buddy, I got in a weird rabbit hole doing some research on these stories, and there's like a website dedicated to just audio clips of pilots talking before their plane crashes, and it
Mhm.
is not fun.
Their nerves of steel always
Crazy.
amaze me. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that a human being is built to the point where they go, yeah, I'll fly that thing through the air.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll hop in the cockpit of this giant plane and take the responsibility of these 300 people and
Yeah.
fly. Somebody got on the internet and was like, here's the crash records from 1964 up until 2024, and there's been like 3 flights or 5 flights in America. It's like crazy odds. I have been on flights where the person sitting next to me has commented how much of a bummer I am to be on a flight with.
Really?
One time I was on a connecting flight, and
Hmm.
this woman got on the plane. She sits next to me, clearly had a couple of cocktails already in her, and
Mhm.
we're getting ready to take off, and I'm squeezing both arm handles, and my eyes are closed, and I'm doing some deep breathing. And as soon as we get up there and we sort of level out and things calm down, I open my eyes back up, and she's just looking at me,
Oh my God.
and she goes, well, I forget exactly how she phrased it, but essentially she goes, man, you are a real bummer to fly with, huh?
Yeah, yeah, thanks.
And it was, she said it in a fun way, not in a hostile way, but I laughed and I go, yeah, yeah, I'm not fun to fly with. I am not enjoying myself whatsoever. And she proceeded to get me so blackout drunk that we got cut off by the flight attendants,
Uh-huh.
and were so drunk that her business partner, who was like 8 rows back, she starts doing hand signals to him, and he starts ordering drinks and then bringing them to us.
Hey, this is the best person
I've
ever.
never been so drunk on a flight in my life. I'm flying from New York back to Arizona, and we land. It's like 2 in the afternoon. I'm like back home for Thanksgiving. I got my
Fuck.
sunglasses on. I'm like buying gum at, like, my sister's picking me up. I'm trying to not act wasted. I'm like smoking a cigarette right by the doors.
That'll help.
Dude, I was hammered, and it made the flight so much better.
Yeah. That's all I
I-
do. That's
I've
all I
had
do the
I've
entire
had
time I'm flying.
I've had multiple flight attendants come up to me and go. I had one flight attendant go, "Hey, I was I opened up this bottle of Tito's, and the guest decided they didn't want it. I either got to throw it away or someone's got to drink it. Like, you want a free drink?" Like, could
You are
tell I was
always prom king, dude.
but dude, they see me, and they could
Yeah.
just, this is their job. They're flying every day. They could
Yeah.
pinpoint who's freaking out, who's
Yeah.
uncomfortable, who's scared, and I'm
Okay.
not hiding it. I don't
Yeah.
hide it. I don't give a
You
fuck if
can't.
everybody on that flight thinks I'm the biggest bitch on that flight.
That
I
motherfucker is not real.
multiple times, and I will say, this is the last thing I'll say about it. I believe it all goes back to a flight that I took in 1999. I think this is
Whoa.
it.
Revealing.
I was 11 years old, 10,
Okay.
10 years old. I don't
Okay.
know how old I was. I was 10 or 11 years old. flying across the country again from New York to Arizona. We were moving to Arizona, and the flight was a red eye. We're flying through the air. This is 1999. There are no TV screens in the headrests. It's the TVs that sort of, go every like 8 seats
I know, like
in
those
the
old like
ceiling.
Greyhound buses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you plug your headphone into the little headphone jack in your seat, and you watch whatever movie
Everybody
they
watches
choose.
Clueless. Yeah.
This is so we're flying through the air, middle of the night, red eye flight, hit a storm. The pilot
Mm,
gets on, gonna get a little bumpy thing, whatever. At
mm.
this point, I don't even realize that I'm gonna die one day. So I'm like, this is great. We're on a plane. This is fun.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Let's go.
hit the storm. I'm sitting in the by the window. I'm seeing lightning strike outside
Oh,
my window. The plane's just fucking shaking. It is absolutely terrifying. I'm freaking out. My mom's just telling me to calm down. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. Watch the movie. Just watch the movie.
do you
I get
remember
the
what the movie
headphones
was?
on. What night? This is 1999. What movie do you think? It's a long flight, so they picked long movies. That's your hint. What do you think? What do you think I'm watching?
99. This is okay, so 2099. It's not Survivor. Or not Survivor. What's the it can't be that. Not the Tom Hanks
It's
FedEx dumps into
1999.
the
Oh, it's not Castaway.
um not Castaway. Um
It
fuck,
is a
99.
disaster movie. It's your last hint.
Final Destination.
It's fucking Titanic, man. It's
Oh my
fucking
God.
Titanic. I put the headphones on and it's just people screaming and drowning and the Titanic is sinking and people are praying and crying.
Just watch the movie, Rob. Just watch the movie,
I
honey.
started crying so incredibly loud that the flight attendant came over
Oh,
and
gave
removed
you a
me from
Tito's.
I wish removed me from my seat, took me
Wow.
out of my seat, brought me back into the little
Yeah, I
area
know.
where they hang out,
Yeah.
tells me I got to be brave. It's going to be okay. I fly every day. This happens. You're going to be okay. I don't give a shit.
Of course not.
Why couldn't you couldn't have put on a goofy movie? Like, what are you doing here? I get it's a 6 hour flight, but you're the Titanic? Who puts on the Titanic? And then
It's wild.
she gives me the little wing pin,
You got the wings.
flips it
Now
to
you're
me.
She goes, now you got to
That's
go
gonna
fly
make
the
me
plane.
feel better. Like, oh my
Ne-
God, thank you for this trinket. Now there's no way I'll die now.
Not with this on me.
Ever since then, buddy. I mean, and
Okay.
I have flown obviously a ton since then. And some flights are better than others, especially if I'm like with friends, it's easier. I'm like, cool, well, I'll just die together. But man, it was such a traumatic experience. I just really never recovered.
Makes perfect sense. That's how that shit gets locked in.
Yeah.
Flying is not easy for anybody. Like I swear to God, like when I do see people that are like really good at putting their shit in the overhead compartment, and they're just like, oh, those guys that like have like a fucking zip up sweater vest on and shit. I'm like, I know
Yeah.
you're still scared, dude. You're still scared.
Look, the plane starts shaking and the door flies off. Everything goes
We're
out the
all
window.
we're all equal here.
The people I hate are the people that fall asleep before the plane even takes off and then wakes up when it's landing. Like, I want to
Well, then
murder you. You just time travel.
you hate people that take Xanax, Rob.
Well, buddy, you think I'm not taking Xanax on my next flight? Come on now.
Got to.
You know
I
it.
I don't have a
Got to.
Xanax prescription, but I do I do street level Xanax Benadryl.
See, that don't work for me.
Well,
Benadryl won't knock me out. It never has.
well,
Benadryl will put you to sleep.
yeah.
You're just a little sweet baby, aren't you? You're just a sweet little baby. I would have to drink illegal amounts of Benadryl to be able to go to sleep.
I take the
Crazy.
pills. I take the pills and
I
I
would
knock it
have to
back.
I would have to shoot it into my veins.
Do you know that you can do this too? Do you know why they're called airplane bottles?
Why is that? Because you could bring them
Well,
on the plane.
you can bring them on the fucking plane.
Yeah. By the way, Flight with Denzel might be one of my all-time favorites, and it's
Great.
about a plane crash.
I
It's a
know,
good
but
drinking
he
movie too.
I know it's true.
It's a
It's
great movie
all
to drink to. He does get
yeah.
sober at the end.
He does.
Spoiler,
He does.
but such a good
Reluctantly.
drinking movie.
Yeah.
John
It is.
Goodman. Oh my God,
When he
phenomenal.
tells him to bring him the $100 bill,
Oh man. As soon as
we've
I'm allowed
lost.
to have a cocktail again, I'm watching that movie.
We've walked this entire fucking room. The audience is gone.
Yeah, this will probably get edited out. Thanks for listening, everybody. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell whoever you want about the goddamn podcast. I don't care.
Tell
We'll
Dave
be
Calhoun that he's a motherfucker, that he's a
yeah,
fucking reptilian fucking bastard.
if you're listening to this on a flight right now, I'm sorry. And we'll talk to you next time.